Hi, I'm Rivka. Welcome back. Let's talk more about pleasure and what it comes from. Let's set out to do great things. You know you can.
You can soar like a bird.
So what does pleasure come from? Pleasure comes from filling a void. The clearest example is with food. If you are hungry and you eat, it is pleasurable. Once you get full, if you continue to eat, it no longer is pleasurable. Why? Nothing changed about the food. It's the same food. It's the same sesame chicken you had at the beginning of the meal. Why is the sesame chicken revolting? And the sesame chicken in the beginning of the meal pleasurable? It's not about the sesame chicken. It's about you. Filling up a void is pleasurable. Doing the same thing when there's no void is revolting. It's disgusting. The same goes for watching movies. You watch a good movie, it's enjoyable. You watch the same thing over and over again, or binge on a long TV show for 12 hours straight. You get disgusted by it. It begins to come out of your ears, and it just feels like you used it up. That's one type of pleasure, the kind that gets used up. The more you do it, the less enjoyable it is. That's the pleasure where you are filling up a void. But there's another kind of pleasure. It's actually the complete opposite. This pleasure, the more you indulge in it, the more pleasurable it gets. I have a question for you. What kind of pleasure is marriage? Is the beginning of marriage the pleasurable part, and then it all goes downhill from there? Or is marriage supposed to be more enjoyable the longer you are married? A good marriage gets better and better as it goes along. Why? Marriage is the kind of pleasure that's more than filling a void. If it was just filling a void, then marriage would be that way. It would be exciting in the beginning, but then once you feel full, lose its excitement. But everyone knows that you don't get married for the other person to fill you up, for the other person to fix your problems. That's a recipe for disaster. Your spouse is not in control of your happiness. You are the master of your happiness. The second kind of pleasure is growing. It's becoming more. It's expanding your abilities, expanding your horizon. Marriage is not to fill yourself up. It's to grow. You see, in the previous video, I explained how pleasure is experienced by the soul. The soul's number one basic need is to be okay. The same way the body cannot survive without oxygen, the soul cannot survive if it believes it is not okay. The soul cannot survive without feeling good about herself, without self-respect. It's got to feel valuable. It's got to feel important. The first kind of pleasure, the filling of a void pleasure, fills you up. But there's only so much pleasure you can get from getting full, because it only lasts until you're full. The next kind of pleasure comes from beyond getting full. Instead of simply filling you up, it expands you. It makes you more. It makes you greater. A lot of times people get this kind of pleasure from their job. Let's say you're a psychologist. You work hard, you build up your practice. 10 years down the line, when you're helping a client, you'll get so much more pleasure than when you first started out. Let's say you're a screenwriter. You enjoy creativity. As you write on a higher and higher level, the more you practice, the more enjoyable the whole process gets. Now, sometimes what happens is that a person stops growing. They become complacent. That's when the pleasure fades. Their marriage stops being enjoyable. Helping people as a psychologist becomes boring. And so does writing scripts. Why? They aren't growing. That pleasure is gone. And well, they're not going to either get pleasure from filling a void, because they are already full in that area. To summarize, there are two kinds of pleasures: filling a void and growing. With filling a void, it's no longer pleasurable once the void is full. With growing, the pleasure stops if you stop growing. These two pleasures both come from the soul. One fills up the soul, and the other expands the soul. That's all for today. Please like, subscribe, and bell if you haven't already. Thank you.